Creation Myth of the Kwatsan, Yuma Indians by Natalie. On the banks of the Colorado River, a few miles north of Mexico and just at the boundary line of Southern California and Arizona, live the Yuma Indians, or Quechans, as the Indians call themselves. The desert which stretches on each side of the river is their home. Amid the timber that follows the river's course, the cottonwood and mesquite trees, sage and cactus of the desert, the Kwatsan build their huts of cottonwood poles, plastered with mud and thatched with arrowweed. The blue sky overhead is rarely darkened by a rain cloud. The treeless mountains cut their jagged outlines sharp against the horizon, while the sand hills stretch tawny and golden beyond the green of the river bank. The creation legend of the Quechans is ancient, but the interpolation of the white man is of course a later addition to the tale. According to the Quechans, the white man is in the west, for the first white men seen by the Yumas were the Spaniards who came from California, which at that time was still a part of Mexico. It will be seen throughout the legend that the Quechans believe that they themselves migrated to their present home from the north. People! Behold, thus it was in the beginning, all was water, there was no sky, no land, no living thing. Then, as the waters moved, the waves dashed spray aloft, and the foam and the spray thickened into mist and rested above the waters and became the sky. But there was neither sun, nor moon, nor star. All was darkness. Kokomat, God, dwelt beneath the waters, a nameless being made out of the nothing, and he was two. And the twain made thunder beneath the waters, and the waters heaved, and up through the floods rose the first of the twain. As he passed through the waters he closed his eyes. Then when he had risen he bathed his eyes and opened them and saw. So thus he stood upon the waters, seeing, and named himself Kokomat, maker and father of all. And the second of the twain called to Kokomat from beneath the waters, and asked, "How went you up with closed eyes, or open eyes?" And Kokomat made answer falsely thus, "As I came through the floods I opened my eyes." Now the second believed, and as he rose he opened his eyes, and the waters rushed in upon his eyes, and behold, when he had come up through the waters he was blind. Kokomat then named him Bakotl, the blind. And Kokomat was good, and Bakotl was evil. So the twain stood upon the waters in the midst of darkness, for as yet there was no land. Kokomat asked of Bakotl, "Where is the north?" Bakotl knew not, and pointed to the south. "No," said Kokomat, "that is not the north." But Bakotl found not the north, for he was blind. Then said Kokomat, "Behold, I will show you how to make 4 directions. This is north." And he pointed to the north. Then he walked upon the waters 4 steps northward and stood for a moment, and then came back to his starting place. Then he said, "Lo, this shall be west." And he walked upon the waters 4 steps westward, and stood for a moment, and then came back to his starting place. Even so he made the south, stepping 4 times southward, and the east, stepping 4 times eastward, and then at last he stood still at the central starting place. Then Kokomat took the hand of Bakotl, because the blind one knew not the directions, and he pointed with it north, west, south, east. But the blind, who saw not, would not believe. But he said nothing. Then Kokomat said, "Lo, now I will disperse the waters and make earth." And the blind, believing not, said, "How will you do this thing? Think you that you can make earth in truth?" "Yes, that can I," said Kokomat. And the blind said, "Let me be the first to try this thing." But Kokomat answered, "Nay, I will not." And Kokomat turned and faced the north, and stooped over the waters, and with his hand stirred the waters to a whirlpool. And the waters rose and then went down, and as they ebbed land appeared. And Kokomat seated himself upon the earth. Now Bakotl was bad of heart because he might not make the land. He would have liked to go elsewhere. But he, too, seated himself upon the earth. Then he thought, "I will take of this earth and make a being, with head, arms, legs, feet, and hands. So he made of clay an image like a man, but it was not right. The hands were not divided into fingers or the feet into toes. When the image was finished, Bakoto laid it behind him where Kokomat might not see it. Now Kokomat said in his heart, I will make man. And he took clay and made an image with head, arms, legs, hands, and feet. It was perfect. This is man, he said. Then he made another image, and this one, too, was perfect. This is woman, he said. And he took the first image and lifted it, and swung it back and forth 4 times, northward, and stood it upon its feet upon the earth. And behold, it was a living man. And he took the second image and swung it back and forth 4 times northward, and stood it on its feet upon the earth. And behold, it was a living woman. Now Bakoto had in this time made 7 images, but he himself knew not what they were. And Kokomat saw them and said, What have you made there? And Bakoto answered, Lo, these are men that I am making. Then Kokomat said, Lift your hand and touch and feel these that I have made. And Bakoto felt of the man and the woman that Kokomat had made. They were perfect, with face, eyes, hands, and fingers, they were perfect. And Kokomat said to the blind, What then seek you to make of these that you have made? And Bakoto answered, Of all these I shall make men. Now on the hands of his images the blind had made no fingers, nor upon the feet had he made toes. Kokomat said, What will they do if they are hurt in battle? Behold, they have no fingers. Bakoto said, If they are hurt, they will heal themselves. Kokomat said, Behold, I have made fingers, yea, even fingernails. If one finger is hurt, it can be cut off, and there yet will be 4 fingers left. And my people can hold things, for they can put their fingers together, as one, even like the hands of your creatures, or they can spread their fingers apart. All things can they do with their hands. And Kokomat looked upon the images of Bakoto and beheld how they were sore imperfect, and he lifted his foot and spurned them into the waters. Now Bakoto was angered and hot with rage, and he leaped into the water, to make sickness that should destroy the people of Kokomat. And as he went down beneath the waves there was a noise as of thunder. Out from the waters he blew a whirlwind, but Kokomat lifted his foot and stepped upon the whirlwind and quenched it. But the whirlwind was very strong, and when Kokomat lifted his foot a little breath of the whirlwind slipped out, and this it is that has brought all sickness to the people of the earth. Now Kokomat was alone, save for the one man and the one woman, and these twain were the Quatsans, Yumas. Then Kokomat made 2 people more, man and woman, and these were the Quapas. Then he made the Digienos, man and woman, and the Mojaves, man and woman. Then he stopped and pondered. He had made people of 4 kinds. And now he worked again and made the Apaches, then the Maricopas, then the Pimas, then the Coahuillas, again people of 4 kinds. Then he labored again, until he had made, in all, people of 24 kinds, and the last twain that he made were the white people. Now behold all these living beings on the earth who knew not how they should live. And the first man, the Kwatsan, said to Kokomat, Behold, we know not how to live. And Kokomat answered, Think in your heart. You cannot be always alone and separate being. Join with another, and bring forth children. And Kokomat begot a son, to teach the people, and the child was conceived of the nothing and born without a mother, yet was he in form even as a man, and Kokomat called him Kamishtamho. And when the people understood, they lived no more apart as man and woman, but joined each with the other, and reared children unto themselves. Now when thus there were many people upon the earth, Kokomat said, Behold what I will do! It is dark, I will make light. So he made the moon, and then the morning star. Now the sun, Kamishtamho, as he waxed older began to ponder and think in his heart that he too would one day make something. The different kinds of people were now grouped in different places on the earth. But Kokomat knew that his own work was finished. Now behold, among the people was a woman, Hnyai the frog, and her heart was bad toward Kokomat, and she fain would destroy him. So she crept down under the earth. Now Kokomat knew her heart, for he knew all things, even the hearts of all the people he had made. But it was thus, Kokomat himself willed to die, that he might teach men how to die, even as he had taught men how to live. For he knew that all men must die, else would the world be too full of people. Now Hnyai crept down into the ground beneath the place where Kokomat was standing, and she pulled out his breath till his throat was dry, and he wandered this way and that, knowing not whither he went. For Hnyai was a sorceress, and she had the power of the frog, for the frog has great power. If you throw it into the fire, it cannot be burned, it will jump here and there and then jump out. Kokomat sickened, and lay down, and thought soon to die. Now there was no day or night, but only moonlight all the while, for as yet was there no light save that of the moon and of the one star. So Kokomat lay dying, and he called all his people about him, and they gathered, all save the white man, who lingered by himself in the west. The white man was crying because his hair was curled and his skin was white. Kamishtamho looked up and beheld the white man sitting by himself in the west, weeping thus, and Kamishtamho rose and went to him, and took a stick of wood, and set another stick of wood across it, and said, "Here, you may ride this!" And behold, it was a horse. So he comforted the white man with gifts to ease his crying. For the white man was the youngest of all peoples, he was made the last, and he was even as a child, petulant and wilful, crying for all that he saw, and never appeased until all had been given to him. So unto the white man did Kamishtamho give all the good things of the earth, for the Indians were older and could better bear deprivation and hardship. So Kokomat died, to show men the road of death, even as he had shown men the road of life. And now Kamishtamho pondered in his heart how he might change the world so that there would be night and day. And he spat on his hand, and with his finger he rolled the spittle to a disk, and he took the disk and threw it to the east. Then he said to all the people, "This is the sun, and it will move from the eastern sky to the western." Then he thrust the sun down under the earth, and the darkness returned. And now he spat on his finger and sprinkled the sky, and lo, there were many stars. Then he told the people, "Behold, these are stars. But you will see them only at night. In the day, you never will see them." But the people believed not, for Kokomat, who had made all things, was dead. Now Kamishtamho would burn the body of Kokomat. But as yet there was no wood for poles and logs, there were no cottonwood or willow trees, as now. So Kamishtamho summoned the wood from the north, and when it was come he made a great funeral pyre. Now Kokomat, whilst he had lain nigh unto death, had called unto him the coyote, and had said, "Take my heart. Be good. Do what is right." And the coyote thought that Kokomat meant that he should take the heart from Kokomat's body, and eat it. Now all was ready for the burning, but Kamishtamho knew that the coyote had it in his heart to eat the heart of Kokomat. So when the sun was rising, Kamishtamho said to the coyote, "Go, fetch the light wherewith to kindle the fire." And the coyote leaped 4 times to the east, and lifted his hand and reached toward the sunrise. And now, while the coyote was thus gone seeking light, Kamishtamho quickly took a stick and fitted it into a hole in a piece of wood, and twirled the stick between his palms till fire sprang from the end of it. Thus did Kamishtamho show the people how to make fire, and so was the first fire kindled for the burning of Kokomat. And Kamishtamho lit the funeral pyre, for he would that Kokomat's body should be burned before the coyote might return. Behold, all the people were gathered save the white man, and he desired not to see the burning and stayed afar. But the people wept not, or mourned, for as yet they understood not what death was. Now the fire had been burning but a little time when the coyote returned. The people closed in together about the pyre because they knew that the coyote would try to leap upon it to take the heart of Kokomat. Among the people was the badger, and he was so low of stature that the coyote, at a bound, leapt over him, even upon the pyre, and seized the heart of Kokomat. Then he leapt off at the other side, and ran swiftly away. All the animals who were fleet of foot chased him, but none could catch him. Then Kamishtamho called aloud after the coyote, "You will never more do good. You will be a wild man with no dwelling house, and not to call your own. You will steal, for you will of yourself own nothing, and for your thefts you will be killed." Thus Kamishtamho proclaimed it before all the people, and they knew henceforth what the coyote was. The people stood all around the burning pyre, and then they began to weep and cry. They understood not sickness and death, but Kokomat had shown them that men must sicken and die. Yet the people could not believe that Kokomat would not longer live among them, and you will never more see Kokomat. He has died. If he were to live, all men would live, and the world would not hold all the people who would be alive. This is why Kokomat has died, to teach you. And the people wept. They thought that the frog was afar, for she had run away from the people in the same direction as the coyote. The people would fain have killed the frog because she was a sorceress. The frog knew this, so she hid herself under the ground. But now when the people wept, she came out and listened, and when she heard the people grieve, she went down into the ground again and resolved, out of fear of the people, to move elsewhere. So the frog lives ever out of sight. Now by the burning of Kokomat all the country round about was set in flames, and there was a mighty heat from the fire, so that forever afterward the land is hot. When the great fire was over and all had been burned, the people sat together in the same place. But the Quapaw Indians wanted not to be close to the Quatsans, and they stayed apart from them, and the Maricopas wanted to be near to the Quapaw. But the Mojaves, Apaches and Diguenos drew nigh to the Quatsans, and so today these tribes live near together. Now, as the people sat, they saw a little whirlwind forming near the place where Kokomat had been burned. And the people rose up and said, "What is there?" And Kamishtamho answered, "That is Kokomat. His spirit is now soul only, and that is he. He will be elsewhere than here, maybe north, or west, or east, or south. He will never tire nor hunger, and he will always be happy. People, grieve not." Thus he taught the people. When he had told them this, they understood and watched, and saw a whirlwind all around the place where the fire had been. Kamishtamho said, "He will always be happy, but I am not happy. Would that he were alive." Now the Quatsans believe that when they die, they go not to this place or that, as the white people teach, nor are they punished or rewarded. In death all men are equal. When they die, they are again with those whom they love and who belong to them, no matter how bad or how good they may be. But the life after death is fair, and corn grows plentifully, and all are young and strong, happy with those who love them and whom they love, and that is all. Kamishtamho now chose a man, Marhokavek, to help him to think and to plan all things that now must be made and all that now must be done. Marhokavek thought, then he looked upon the people and said to them, "Because you all have lost your father, you should cut your hair as a sign of mourning." So all the people cut their hair. And Marhokavek called the birds and the animals and cut their hair, for in the beginning the animals were persons, even as men. Now when this was done, Kamishtamho thought, and he said, "These animals and birds look not well thus. I will make of them persons no longer, but animals." And now when they were just wild animals, Kamishtamho said, "I would fain kill them all." But Marhokavek said, "Nay, do not that." So they called the rain, for Kamishtamho would cause a flood that should destroy the animals. Now many of the beasts perished in the flood, but not all, for if there should come so great a flood that all the animals would drown, the Indian peoples would die of the cold, for their country is hot because of the burning of Kokomat, and so the Indians cannot bear cold. Marhokavek told Kamishtamho to spare the animals for the sake of the people, and they looked for him to come again. Then Kamishtamho said, Kamishtamho stopped the rain. So the world is full of animals as well as men, but the animals are wild, and since that time men and animals live no more together, but are fearful of each other. Now Kokomat had a dwelling house in the north, and Kamishtamho would not that the house should stay when Kokomat was dead. For when a man dies and his spirit goes forth, the spirit of all that he possessed should follow him into the other life. Therefore the people destroy the earthly belongings of the dead man, that the souls of these things may be still the property of him who is gone. Also, when a man has passed to where no man may behold him, it is not good to look upon anything that had belonged to him who is gone. The sight of such a thing calls to mind the dead one. We see his house, but him no more, and this keeps the heart ever sad and makes such constant sorrow that he who is still alive sickens with pining and with grievous thoughts. What we cannot help we should not ponder upon, lest we grow weak of heart. Therefore the Yuma Indians burn all that belonged to the dead man, the house and all his things, and move elsewhere to a dwelling that holds no memory of the absent one. Never again may the name of the dead man be spoken, and life for the remaining ones begins anew upon another road. So Kamishtamho would destroy the house of Kokomat. He took a pole and thrust it into the ground before the house and shook it from side to side, this way and that 4 times, till it pierced so deep that, behold, water was all around the end of it. Then he thrust the pole along making a rut, southward, and struck the house with the pole, and it broke and fell. And the waters flowed all along the rut made by the pole, and behold, this flowing water was the Colorado River. Now the people without fingers or toes that Bakotol had made were beneath the waters, and as the river passed by the Indian peoples these people of Bakotol's making arose and floated down upon the river. And behold, they were ducks, and water creatures, with webbed hands and feet. Kamishtamho stood beside the river, and knew who these creatures were, and he tried to catch them. But they would not come near, and kept only in the water. Then Kamishtamho called to the young the little fledglings, but they answered not, nor came, so he said, You have wings, but you may not fly as other birds. You shall remain forever near the water, as waterfowl. And to this day waterfowl are frightened of men, and come not near when they are called, but speed quickly away. Now Cock, the crow, was a good farmer. After the river was made, he brought corn and seeds of all kinds. He flew southward to the Gulf of California, stopping 4 times by the way and crying, Cock, cock! And at each of these 4 stopping places a mountain arose. So he brought seeds from the south that the people might plant after the overflow of the river. Some say that the mountains of the earth other than these 4 were made in the beginning by Kokomat. When the land was not yet dry, Kokomat pushed the wet clay to this side and that with his hands, heaping it into mountains. Others say that the waves broke on the newly risen land, and, as they dashed up over the country, they destroyed not the land, but stayed as they were, hardened into mountains. Now the peoples had been divided, some had gone here, some there. But Kamishtamho would keep the Kwatsan ever under his protection. So he said, Behold, I am now only one, so I cannot thus be with you always, for I must sometimes be elsewhere. So I will become 4. I will change my name, I will no more be Kamishtamho, but Eshpakomo, White Eagle. And Kamishtamho changed and became as 4 eagles. The Black Eagle, Eshpaquiniel, went to the west, where the sky always is dark with clouds and rain. The Brown Eagle, Eshpetsequitza, went to the south. This eagle has little power. He only dips in the water and catches fish to eat. The 4th eagle was called Eshpaquame, which means eagle unseen, for no man sees that eagle. The White Eagle was ever in the north, even from the time when Kamishtamho changed himself. When Kamishtamho thus had become 4, He dwelt no more among the Yuma people as a man, because all the peoples were divided. Some had gone to the north, some to the west, some to the south, and some to the east, so he might no more be in just one place. Yet he would ever guard and protect the Quechan's, and in dreams give them power from Kokomat. So Kokomat teaches the people through Kamishtamho in dreams, saying to them, "Think on me, follow my word, and bid the sick remember me." Bakoto, the blind, is under the earth, and all men know that he is evil. He is lying down beneath the ground, never more to come out, but sometimes he moves, and then the earth trembles and shakes. When he turns over, there is a noise as of thunder, and the earth opens and mountains crack and fall. And people say, "Lo, the blind one stirs below." Kokomat helps the good, but Bakoto helps the wicked, and this is why in the beginning Kokomat lied to Bakoto and blinded him. For Kokomat knew that Bakoto was evil, and Kokomat willed only good to men. All good is under the protection of Kokomat. Lo, this is the story of the making of all things, and of the beginning of the Quatsans. People, behold, this is all,